This is Ohio Valley Wrestling, referee Chris Sharp.
This is Ted McNailer, your OVW television champion. This is Sexy Sean Casey.
My name is Rudy Switchblade, and I am your OVW heavyweight champion.
I'm Chris Silvio.
This is Michael Hayes.
This is Jason Wayne.
And you're watching Triple Threat Talk.
Ho, 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 everybody, and welcome to the holiday edition of Triple Threat Talk. As you can tell from our hats here, except for one.
Big B, what are you, the Grinch? Where's your hat?
I could only find 2 hats.
That's no excuse, and I don't care that you have Santa Claus. You should be more in the spirit like me and the doctor.
So if I put it on my head, would that count?
Yeah, that might work.
They won't stay there all.
But you'd look like a fail. But
with or without the Santa, right?
Either way.
See, I set myself up for that.
Today we're going to be talking a little bit of the downside of sports, a little bit of abuse. We're going to talk about some NCAA basketball, and we're going to talk about the NFL. But first, as always, it's time for user questions.
All right. To kick it off this week, we have from Guitar Hero 3214, and he wants to know from Gary, the doctor, if we all know your utter disdain for John Cena. It's pretty evident.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I call him how I see him.
If it was up to you, back in 2005 and 2006, who would you have given the greater push to get to where they're at today?
I think I would have done with a more passing of the torch kind of thing. I think I would have pushed Michaels to be the champ one more time because I think he definitely deserved it with everything he was doing. He was putting his body on the line more and more on that time. He was still involved in ladder matches. Heck, he participated in the first ever Elimination Chamber match.
And won.
And won. I think he definitely deserved to be the push. I think that they did the right thing going from doing Cena and Michaels at WrestleMania. I definitely think that was a plus and needed to happen. But I would have liked to have seen Shawn Michaels lose the championship, have been the champion, and lose the championship to John Cena. I will admit that wouldn't have bothered me at all. To have Michaels win over John Cena, to push John Cena in that fashion, and it'd be an obvious passing of the torch.
Okay, I like it.
Second question from Guitar Hero 3214 is for me.
You?
Me.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to know, with me being such a Christian fan.
Again, I never realized that either.
That with his recent injuries and his recent setbacks, is his career either over or on a downward spiral? Unfortunately, yes.
To both.
To both.
Okay.
Because, if you notice here lately, he has been a little more injury prone. He has succumbed to a lot more injuries. He's been around the business a long time. His longtime buddy and friend, of course, Edge, just recently retired. He may get another one big, before he's done, but I think it's not looking good, and it might be almost time to exit stage left out the front door.
I don't know if his career is over, but it's definitely on the downward spiral.
Right.
That's for sure.
So, from Against All Odds 20, if it begins 2012, ends up being Undertaker, is that a fail?
I don't think so. I thought we got some good quality promos last year, and the match at WrestleMania was a little bit of a reverse squash match. I mean, Undertaker took the beating most of the time and came out with the W. And Triple H had an amazing fail on Raw last week, saying that he ended the streak. That's obviously incorrect. He did not end the streak, but I don't think it would be a fail at all.
Actually, I think it would be just because, it's pretty evident now. And if you haven't seen the promos, the last couple ones, it's pretty evident that it is Chris Jericho. Looking at all the things, last promo last night, supposedly people saying that, I don't know if you saw Raw last night, but when the girl knocked the composition book off the desk, there's like a name crossed out. If you watch it in HD on YouTube in 1080p, it kind of looks like it says Chris on there. So there's a lot of signs about that. So if it were Undertaker, it'd be like the same thing as last year, because like last year it seemed like it was Undertaker, just how dark it was. And you maybe thought it was Sting, but this year there's a lot of signs that point to Jericho. So if it was Taker, it wouldn't be a fail because everyone likes the Undertaker, but it'd be a huge letdown to me.
I agree with him. It may not be a fail, but it would be a definite letdown. I think it is Chris Jericho. It's like he pointed out a pretty good scenario. Like, he's coming back on January the 2nd, 2012. And if you look, it's like the year is 2012, so Y for the year. The day is the 2nd, so 2. And then the month of January, J, so Y2J. So
Yeah, all signs point to Mr. King of the world there.
yeah.
And then, if it is Jericho, let me ask you guys this: who's the girl?
Actually, I know we're doing questions, but I'll go off a little bit here. I actually read something last night on NoDQ.com. Someone posted it. They could be reading too much into it. Again, it can mean nothing, can mean everything. But they said the girl is CM Punk. I know you're like, no. But what they said was basically, you have to read into the video. They were saying the girl was like CM Punk because she was looking over his shoulder, like taking things like looking at what he was doing. Same thing with CM Punk. Like Jericho's saying that CM Punk is stealing his moves, stuff like that. And they're saying with the ball that Jericho dropped the ball when he left and CM Punk picked it up. They're trying to read more into the video, so to speak. So they're saying like the girl's like not literally is CM Punk, but like metaphorically speaking is CM Punk.
All right.
So.
Also from Against All Odds 20, who do you think has improved more in the ring, Kelly or Eve Torres?
I think Kelly has. Eve's has always been pretty good in the ring. I think Kelly's definitely come into her own as a diva.
I was gonna say Eve in the beginning, but then I read the question more: who's improved more? Eve, when she first came in, she was always pretty good. She has a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background, so she's very skilled in the ring. Kelly's definitely improved.
I agree with him. Eve has always been really good in the ring. She hasn't needed much improvement, if any. Kelly's definitely improved. She's not all about glitz, glamour, and looks now. She's kind of has that fighting side about her. So, also from Against All Odds 20, he wants to know, should Test have been WWE champion, and was he the best Intercontinental champion not to become WWE champion?
I think so. I think Test definitely should have been the champion. He may not have been the best. I think obviously we can all agree, and we said it before we came in, that probably the best Intercontinental champion never to become a champion was
Mr. Perfect Kurt
Hennig.
And then I just think that Test should have been the championship, especially with how mixed in with the storyline he was with Triple H and Stephanie and all that stuff. I think it all was reading to be a title shot, but they never got around to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, it seems like with Test, he would have been WWE champion if it weren't for personal issues with drugs and stuff like that. Obviously, his untimely death, that was obviously a shocker to everybody. But it seemed like he was going in the right direction. I mean, I know he came back to ECW at one point, and he was getting pushed a little bit there, kind of like a big, huge, tough guy. So it's a shame because Test was a good talent, but the wrestling business is a dark, disturbing business sometimes. So
yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with them. So from Undead Warrior 75, a little buy or sell here, fellas. Buy or sell Impact Wrestling?
Sell. I mean, you can't do anything right. They don't know how to push their talent. They don't have writers. It's the inmates running the asylum, just a little bit more structured.
I really want to buy this one, but the fact that they had their last pay-per-view, and I don't remember the name of it, I apologize for that, but the main event was between the champion, Robert Roode, or Bobby Roode, whatever you want to call him, and AJ Styles.
In an Iron Man match.
And the match ended in a draw. And then, the crowd was chanting, keep going, maybe sudden death. No, they just ended that way. So, if you're going not to try, then I can't buy anything. Sorry.
I agree. Totally sell all the way. If you could interview a WWE or TNA or ROH superstar, who would it be?
That's a good question. I think I'm going to throw a kind of a snowball out at you guys. I think I would probably have to interview the Bella Twins. And it's not for why you think. I'm just genuinely curious how two sisters in that situation get drawn to wrestling. I mean, I'm really curious. It's not because they're beautiful, because they are. I just would want to know what is the situation, what has to happen for two sisters, two twins to agree on something like that. I kind of would like to interview the Bella Twins, and kind of get into their minds on why they joined the WWE together.
I thought maybe it was because he wanted their locker room.
No.
Well, I mean, remember, you can look, but you can't touch.
That's right.
That's right.
You can look, but you can't.
For me, obviously, as you saw at the beginning of the show, another new interview this week. We'll go to that when we cover wrestling and OVW and all that. It's tough because, I mean, obviously, I interviewed my favorite in OVW, Rudy Switchblade, so that was pretty awesome. If I could pick one, obviously, it would probably be WWE. If I could pick anybody in the history of the business, I'd probably pick Shawn Michaels.
Oh, yeah.
Shawn Michaels.
But
Right now, I'd probably pick, like, Sheamus or,
Yeah.
something like that, just because, especially rich history that Sheamus has had, starting in Ireland, how he got here, you know what I mean? I mean, like, that doesn't happen very often, so.
Right. Mine would probably have to be if I could interview somebody from WWE, TNA, or ROH. I've actually been fortunate enough to talk to AJ Styles and fortunate enough to talk to Christian and Samoa Joe. So those are all three really cool people to get to talk to. But I would probably have to say, and I know you are going to be like, oh my God, but I'd have to say John Cena.
Oh my God.
Just because, just because he's well respected in the business. He's all for WWE. He's all for wrestling, and I would love to get pick his brain for a few minutes to see. And one thing regarding John Cena, I know we've kidded, and the fans have kidded, and The Rock has kidded, but John Cena is now officially a part of Fruity Pebbles. You can, for real, go to the store, and John Cena is on a box of Fruity Pebbles now. It is a promo with WWE and post Fruity Pebbles, I believe. And also, another thing to add to the freaking marketing geniuses at WWE, you can now buy a Cena Sucks t-shirt.
That's right.
And on the back it says, "We can't see you." So, definitely taking advantage from all angles, and they're definitely taking advantage of this new, era of Cena hatred.
Yeah, I mean, they got WrestleMania rolling around in April, and they want people to, be on either side. So.
Absolutely. So for our final viewer question, it goes to Khalil Rocks.
Who's asking very good questions lately.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to know, or she, how long have each of you been watching wrestling?
I've been watching since I was probably about 5 or 6, I think. It's been a
So
long
about 40
time.
years?
Yeah, about 40 years. Thanks, jackass.
Same here with me, about the age of 5 or 6. It's pretty weird how it happened. I moved to New Jersey, and my friend called me and said, put on, USA was back, when it was back on USA in the beginning. First person I saw was Shawn Michaels, and again, if it wasn't for Shawn Michaels, I probably wouldn't be here right now, so a lot to him, too. So.
I'd say I've been watching for about 23 years now. Long time. I can remember back in the olden days when you could sneak a pay-per-view if you had the right cable box. You could illegally watch WrestleMania or Royal Rumble. Or...
So, Doctor, I think the fans want to know, what was it like watching Gorgeous George wrestle?
It was pretty good. It was pretty intense. He brought a lot of shut up.
I think he was more along the lines of like classy Freddie Blassie,
Pedro Morales,
Bruno Sammartino,
Nick Bockwinkel.
I
watched the ancient Greeks wrestle in the Olympics. All right,
that's right.
Anyway.
So with that being said, we thank you all for the views and the viewer questions for the week. And from that, we move on to the doctor, who will anoint this week's Viewer of the Week. So, Doc, take it away.
The last few weeks, I've been impressed. I'm going to have to give this week's Viewer of the Week to Khalil Rocks.
All
right, so Khalil Rocks, with that being said, you are our Merry Christmas Triple Threat Talk Holiday Special
Viewer of the Week.
So we thank you guys for that, and now we move over to Big B, who has a little disturbing news in the sports world. Big B.
Actually, unfortunately, this happened last week before the show was filmed, so we couldn't talk about it last week. Apparently, I mean, the story's still very skeptical, and I'm not positive on the names and everything. I just looked at it not that long ago again. Apparently, some father, 52 years old, I can't remember the name again. He beat up his own son, eighth grader.
Youth basketball
for losing a basketball game.
Had him in a headlock.
It's nothing new for parents to outburst and get overreactive to sports, but this is just insane. I mean, they said the cops. I remember what state it was in. I forget, but the state it was in. The cop
in Texas.
Texas, thank you. The cop said, and in that county, he's never seen anything like this in his life. Like the people at the basketball game had to pull the father away from his own son, which is ridiculous.
It is totally ridiculous, and I mean, sometimes you just got to realize that, hello, people, it's just a basketball game, for Christ's sake. I mean, I got a little out of hand because we lost in our hockey game last week in the last half second of the game, and I said some things in the heat of the moment that I shouldn't have said directed towards certain people. And you just got to realize that some people take these things too seriously. They take them too far. They do things completely out of character and out of line. I realize sports is a fun thing, but sometimes we take that for granted, and we take for granted what it is. That it's a pleasure and a privilege to be able to watch, play, or participate in any sporting event or sport for that matter.
And I think something that you also have to take into consideration is this is not new. People who want their kids, not just basketball players, to be star power. I mean, we see it. There's a television show based on it, for God's sake, so that toddlers tiaras. I mean, these kids, these parents, get so upset when their kid isn't picked. I mean, and you see it all the time. There's fights at these pageants, or there's fights in sporting events. We saw it in Xavier, Cincinnati. I mean, it is just a sporting event. If your son doesn't grow up to be an 8th grade basketball player phenom like John Wall or DeMarcus Cousins or LeBron James, you don't need to beat him up. I mean, that's 1 in 10 or 25,000. I can't remember which one it is, but I mean, there's a number. It's like every 1 in 10 or 1 in 25,000 people grow up and play sports professionally. The NCAA runs that commercials. There's over 1 million student athletes, and all of us will go pro in something other than sports.
Right.
I mean, it's just ridiculous and pathetic for a father to beat up his own son over such an insensitive issue.
Right, and I do apologize for not knowing all the information, but what I will do is in the description below, I will post a link to the news story. There's actually a video on there, you can watch that as well. So.
All right, so we hate to report that kind of news, guys, but sometimes it needs to be documented and it needs to be brought to light, the dark side of the sporting world. So moving on from that to a little NCAA basketball. And the top 5 didn't change this week.
No, I mean, we had some upsets out of the top 5,
right.
But I mean, Baylor, number 6, starting off 10-0 for the first time in school history. Baylor's had a heck of a year. The girls beat Connecticut the other night. The men's basketball team starting out 10-0. They have the Heisman winner. They're going to a great bowl game. Pound for pound, I don't think any other athletic program in the nation right now has it better than Baylor.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
I mean, they're rocking and rolling. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, you can't take nothing away from them. They've got everything going the right way, in the right direction.
The Marquette Golden Eagles, they fall down to LSU, 67-59. Davidson with an upset over Kansas, which I cannot fathom. This Davidson team come out of nowhere. They usually make a strong run for the NCAA tournament. They usually win their division, their conference, to get into the tournament. They beat the big dogs, Kansas, at home, not at Naismith Arena, but in Kansas, 80-74. Oral Roberts beat Xavier after the suspension of Holloway, 64-42. And the U of L Cardinals and the Hoosiers both stay undefeated. Now let me ask you guys this. To the Hoosiers, people are saying that this team is a surprise team. Do you agree with that statement?
I do not. And the reason why I say they're not a surprise team, I think they were highly underrated going into the season. I mean, they had a top 5 prospect in Cody Zeller. They had all those returning players that were highly touted last year. Tom Crean basically inherited junk. It was a mess. It was a program left in shambles. He's turned it around. I don't think this is a fluke. This is not a momentary lapse in badness. This is nothing but what's the foreseeable future going to be like for Indiana. I think Indiana has a bright, bright future ahead. I think they have the number 1 or number 2 rated class in the country next year. So they're only going to get better. They're not going to get worse. So no, I think they were completely underrated. I still think they belong higher than 18th.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're undefeated. They beat number 1 Kentucky. All they've done is win. I mean,
please don't mention that.
But I'm sorry. I think they deserve a lot more credit than what they get.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go this far. It's not a surprise they're good, but I'm surprised they're undefeated. For me,
Right.
I think it's a surprise they're undefeated. So.
Tom Crean definitely had a top 5 class coming in, and like I said, I've done nothing but congratulate the Hoosiers for winning over the Kentucky. I think it definitely got Kentucky a little bit more. I think it helped Kentucky a lot more than it hurt Kentucky, actually. And, of course, they only fell 2 spots in the poll positions. pole positions don't mean anything in December, but when you look at everything, the RPIs and everything, you can get a good idea of where things head.
Right.
And I think Tom Crean has definitely got that train heading in the right direction. When they go into Big Ten play, they have to play Ohio State twice. They have to play Michigan twice. You have to play Michigan State twice. If they haven't earned their stripes now and they keep this up, they're going to earn their stripes.
Those could easily all be
coming up.
losses.
Oh, absolutely.
They could just as easily be wins, too.
Right. Well,
you speaking of U of L, they got to face an old nemesis, an old rivalry this past weekend. As you know, the U of L Memphis rivalry is a big one in college basketball history. That was renewed, and it looked no different than any other Memphis U of L game. 50-plus fouls, down to the wire. Final score, Louisville ends up pulling away late, 95-87. But a very good game. It was a hard-fought victory for U of L to stay undefeated. Kentucky defeated the Tennessee Chattanooga School for the Blind Southwest.
Y'all get them tonight.
No, we got a tough game tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
College
actually,
of
as a matter of
Charleston?
fact, College of Charleston.
No.
doing the Charleston?
They're a very tough team.
Lord, if you believe they're a tough team, I've got some lakefront property in Arkansas. I'm gonna tell you.
If you don't believe me, you can look up their stats. They're a very tough team. They are 7-1. So you can say what you want. They are very tough, and it's going to be a tough game for U of L. So, but enough of that. I guess we move on to the NFL.
Quick.
I mean, we got the. What can we say? The NFL this past week. Just history making.
By far, the craziest week of the year in football.
I think when you look back at this week, 2011, is probably going to go down as one of the biggest weeks in NFL history.
Yeah, I think he's doing that because the Colts won the game.
The Colts won a game!
The world.
I'm excited!
The Colts won their game big time, doubling the score of the Tennessee Titans, plus one, 27-13, and I know you've got to be happy about that.
Oh, I was quite thrilled about it. I mean, Donald Brown, 80-yard touchdown run. Dan Orlovsky played very well. I think he did not want to be a part of another 0-16 team because obviously, as you know, he was the quarterback for the Detroit Lions that went 0-16 a few years ago. He's obviously playing better than Curtis Painter. They've been in it a lot closer the last couple weeks with him at QB than when Painter was in. They finally got over the schneid, beating Tennessee, which we said last week was a very distinct possibility, except for Big B, who said, and I quote, "They will never win a game as long as Peyton Manning is not QB." He was proved wrong. Obviously, I shouldn't have went with the coin flip last week. I should have stuck with my heart and my head when I
your heart and your head.
I got that backwards and picked the Colts. But that's neither here nor there.
I mean,
so the Colts, they break the schneid.
I mean, Hasselbeck threw 2 interceptions, and they brought Jake Lochran at the end. So
1-13. So we go from that end of the spectrum
to
the other end of the spectrum, and the Kansas City Chumps
turn into the Kansas City High Chiefs.
They looked like a very good team. Kyle Orton played phenomenal.
A question I want to ask you is, what do you think Todd Haley was thinking?
I was about ready to ask you all the same thing. What are the odds that Todd Haley was at home drinking a bottle of tequila after this game?
It's like, let's see how they do. Final score, Kansas City 19, Packers 14. Jeez.
Maybe it was me.
I guess it was me.
I mean, absolutely surprise, shock. They rattled Aaron Rodgers all day. I mean, all day.
I said to you on Sunday, I said to both of you, I said this game for future opponents of the Packers was the most important game because it laid the groundwork, it laid the foundation, the blueprint is right there in that game to how to beat the Packers.
People a couple weeks ago said after the 49ers got beat by Baltimore that Alex Smith was exposed. Those people couldn't have been more wrong in their life. He had a bad game. He had a bad game against Arizona. That was not laying the groundwork for how to beat a quarterback from 2 bad games. The groundwork on how to beat a good quarterback was put out by Kansas City. The pressure they put on Aaron Rodgers, make no mistake about it, did not have a bad game due to himself. He had a bad game, but it was because of the defense of the Chiefs.
And the thing about the Chiefs is, and here's the biggest reason they won that game 19-14. It wasn't even close. Time of possession. The Chiefs controlled the ball. Were able to run the ball
At will.
Throw nice passes. They weren't like deep balls, whatever. They were able to get Dwayne Bowe involved. A lot of plays from Pope, the tight end, I believe, Pope. So that's what you got to do with the Packers apparently, because the Chiefs aren't the best team in football. They're not.
No.
So, but they played solid defense, and the biggest thing they did, like I said, they controlled the time of possession. They had the time of possession like at least triple the time the Packers had it.
Yeah. And to steal a quote from the doctor from last week, the Chargers absolutely squashed
Wallop.
the Ravens in a surprise. He did pick the Chargers. We picked the Ravens.
But
we thought the Ravens would show that they should be one of the best teams in the AFC, but yet again they showed that they were the team that lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right, but he said it before, and he's absolutely right. The Ravens don't play good on the road.
No.
They don't.
So if they get into the playoffs, which they already have a playoff berth, but they still have to see what happens with the AFC North division at that point. But if they play on the road, they're done.
Yeah,
They're not going to win. They've lost to Jacksonville on the road. They lost to us on the road. They lost to the Chargers on the road. They're better.
Really? They lost the triple threat talk on the road?
On
the road.
The Seahawks. He knows what I meant. The Seahawks. So, but the Ravens are a good team, but on the road they just can't win.
53 versus 3. Man, we really beat them, didn't we?
We did good, didn't we? And speaking of the Jaguars, they got absolutely walloped by the Falcons. The Falcons looked like they were a team ready to go.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Wow.
I mean, they definitely look like a team that could beat the Packers. They absolutely shellacked the Jaguars.
Well, that's not really a surprise.
Blaine Gabbert
Was a fail as usual.
Blaine Gabbert.
But probably the biggest surprise of the week, as far as shellackings go, is the Washington Redskins go into MetLife and absolutely destroy the Giants.
You know what, though? I'm going to say it wasn't a surprise. The reason it wasn't a surprise, here's why. Manning threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And another thing, the most prolific play from that game, Manning throws a pass over the top. 2 Redskins defenders, they're behind. They can't catch up. Hakeem Nicks, wide open, drops it. Wide open. Can't do that. They're not focused at all.
I mean, when you talk about 3 deal breakers in the league this year, there have been 3 teams that have been really, really, really on to people, and you just don't know what they are. The first one is Kansas City. The second one is the Dolphins, and the third one are the Redskins. They have won some games. They've all won some games that they should not have won if you look at it on paper and you look at it matchup-wise.
But you can't... when you showed the skit last week, with the Jim Moore playoffs thing, and everyone knows that speech. He said in the speech, we gave him the freaking game. That's what the Giants did. You hand someone 3 interceptions, they're going to beat you.
Yeah,
no matter who you're playing.
I
don't care if the Giants played the Colts without Dan Orlovsky. If they had Curtis Painter, you throw 3 interceptions, you're going to lose.
I mean, you're absolutely right. And another big surprise, the Panthers beating the Texans 28-13. Guys, what did Texas do wrong?
Everything.
I mean, hey, we're at fault. I mean, we sat here during that football special. We laughed at the Panthers. Said we even debated if they're going to go 1-16. I think some of us may pick 1-15. Hey, they're playing great.
Yeah, I mean
they are not a 5-9 team. They are not.
I think that the Panthers' big problem is they cannot close the game well. But when they do, you better watch out.
Yeah.
This was the game they played all 4 quarters instead of 2 or 3.
I mean, hey, they got a good defense. They have an okay defense. That's why they lose games late. But Cam Newton's playing outstanding.
Yeah,
I mean, if his team was maybe reversed like 9-5, he'd be a candidate for MVP, obviously. But
Colin Cowherd said, I like Colin. I do. I like Colin, but he's been saying some pretty absurd things lately. One of them, he was talking about Eli Manning. You know, how prolific Eli Manning is. He said, you take away like 4 or 5 people, and Eli Manning is the best quarterback in the league. But guess what? That's like 1/8 of the NFL.
Right.
He said take away Brady, Breeze, Rodgers, and Big Ben, and who's better than Eli Manning? Well, I maybe take away 1 or 2 of those on any given year, but not all 4, certainly. And then the other thing he said that was kind of absurd was he just randomly started picking on Cam Newton. I mean, not picking on, defending Cam Newton. And no, Cam Newton's never come under fire.
Right.
You understand that a rookie quarterback is going to throw interceptions because, face it, Aikman threw a lot of interceptions. Elway threw a lot of interceptions, all when they were starting. So, my question is this. What have you guys seen from Cam Newton that has even indicated anybody criticizing him this year? Because this guy, I've seen nothing but good things out of Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I expect he's making the mistakes you expect to make. Someone literally hands you a playbook and says, go for it, big guy. You go for it. You're going to throw over 400 passes this year. We're going to figure this out, and we're going to win games. And they are winning games.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve criticism because weren't they like 2-15, 2-14 last year? They had like 2 or 3 wins.
Yeah.
And this year they're 5-9. And they're not done. They could I think they might possibly go 6-10 possibly. I mean, it's obviously a possibility because there's 2 games left. But we thought the Panthers would be one of the worst teams in football, and they're I mean, they're not good, but they're certainly not awful. They're not awful. If they get a couple pieces on defense, they can make a wild card next year.
I agree. How about you?
I think so. I mean, Cam Newton has proven that he has turned this team around. He doesn't quite have all the weapons on defense and offense to completely get it done. He's showing signs of, being a rookie, obviously. It's there. You can see it. So he's made some mistakes that rookies are obviously going to make. But he's only going to get better.
Right.
And like you said, they've already doubled their wins from last year. So that's an improvement on itself. I mean, it's not Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to turn around the Panthers in a year.
Right. I mean,
it's going to take time. They're going to be better next year. Keep getting more pieces to the puzzle. They've been there before. I mean, they've been to the Super Bowl before. I'm not saying they're going to get there again, but
Right.
I will say that they're going to improve and they're going to be better than what they are now.
Yeah, how can you bet against a team that has Steve Smith on it? So.
I mean, so
Another thing before we get into Monday Night Football, which a lot happened on Monday Night Football, but the Tebows, guys, they go down.
Well, here's the thing. Again, it's funny. It's like the Broncos did lose, but the Raiders lost also, so the Broncos still keep their lead in the AFC West. But you know what? Even though the Broncos lost to the Patriots, again, the Broncos defense didn't play like they're supposed to. They just didn't play well. That's why Brady was able to shred their defense. Gronkowski and Hernandez were always wide open. No one was around him. They played poor defense. But on the flip side, in my opinion, this was Tebow's best game as a throwing quarterback.
I think I'd have to agree with
He
you.
was 11 of 22. I don't know if he had an interception or not. I don't think he did, but he did have a fumble because he was trying to run the option.
Mm-hmm.
And he held it in the wrong hand.
he 2 rushing touchdowns.
Rushing touchdowns. So, even though they did lose this game, and everyone says, like, oh, Tebow can't pass. Guess what? Wake up. He can pass. Even though they lost the game, the kid can pass.
Well, I don't think it was his best game as a passing quarterback. Reason why, I think he had a better game against Minnesota. I think he was like 15 to 22 for a couple passing TDs. He didn't have any passing TDs in this game. Although he did look good. In the first quarter, it looked like it was going to be a very good game.
Right.
Like you said, they had 2 fumbles. They had one by Tebow, one by Lance Ball.
Hold on to the ball.
Boom.
So the defense definitely did not hold up to their end of the bill this week. Granted, they didn't score that many points either, but they are showing improvement. And John Fox even said, "Look, he's getting better."
Yeah.
He said before he couldn't even hit the broadside of the barn. At least now he can hit the broadside of the barn.
Well, now it makes me feel better knowing Tim Tebow can hit the broadside of a barn because
Yeah.
I didn't know he could do that. So.
Yeah, so now
But see,
you know.
when you have someone going to a team, we didn't highlight this week, but we go into Detroit, it's kind of hard not to hit the broadside of the barn when you got Calvin Johnson.
Yeah,
who
really.
can literally catch the ball 17
Wow.
feet either.
But,
That was crazy.
But I mean, Tebow. It's funny. I was watching the game and it's not the normal Broncos that we were watching. They were taken to the Patriots early.
Yeah,
They
very early.
So and then the fourth quarter came and not even Tim Tebow could come back.
This
from
is
that.
how
No.
turnovers destroy a game.
Absolutely.
But going to Monday Night Football, the media asked after the game, Coach Harbaugh, what was it like in the locker room? And he had a very humorous response. He simply said, dark.
You said something last night. You said, I didn't know the game was blocked out.
I didn't know there was a blackout last night, guys. Take a look.
They should have played in the dark. That'd been cool.
I think they should have got a glow-in-the-dark ball.
Glow-in-the-dark jerseys.
Glow-in-the-dark jersey.
It should have been like red and green Christmas theme.
Yeah, there you go. It played in the dark. I mean,
Glow-in-the-dark Nerf ball, right?
That was crazy.
James Harrison tweeted out, if I can't play,
Nobody
can play. Lights out.
And Sean Merriman probably didn't like that either.
Yeah, Sean Merriman probably didn't like that either.
They had some interesting things happen. Of course, all the sportscasters that were there that night, whether you were ESPN or Fox or whoever was there, were all freaked out because immediately their minds go back to the 1989 World Series with the Giants when that 7.1 earthquake leveled, the area around Candlestick Park and, of course, took the power out. So everybody was kind of excited and not in a good way about that.
Right.
At the end result, the 49ers just dismantle and destroy the Steelers 20-3. This was a very historic Monday Night Football no matter who won because it marks only the fourth time in Monday Night Football history that two teams of 10 or more wins have played each other. The 49ers have been involved in all of those contests.
You mean Super Bowls?
No, 10-0 on the 10-0 records. But it also marks the first time in Monday Night Football, which is what Postmaster just said, where two teams with 10 or more Super Bowls combined have played. Of course, the total on this one is 11. It was a record-breaking night, and the 49ers did make history last night. Once again, we always have to report it whenever somebody makes history. The 49ers become the first team in NFL history to not allow a rushing touchdown through 14 games. They look to extend that to 15 next week against a very tough Marshawn Lynch running back with the Seattle Seahawks at Quest Field.
He's going to have his Skittles ready, that's for sure.
He's going to have his Skittles ready. And also David Akers replaces Jerry Rice as the all-time leading scorer of the 49ers.
That's a lot of points for a kicker.
It's a lot of points for
I'm
a
glad
kicker.
he's on my fantasy team.
Yeah,
this
really.
year. And he's no spring chicken. He grew up here in Kentucky. He's from Kentucky.
Played at U of L, but good God, it's been ages since he played at U of L. I think
he's still going
I
strong.
don't think I was here when he played.
It's been a long time. So,
but yeah, that pretty much wraps up football.
week 15 as it was. Now we move on to pick'ems. So, Big B, if you would do the honors and pull up the screen, thank you. As you can see, I went abysmal, 8-8 last week.
It's the Packers and all that thing that's starting to fall.
So that fell to 145-79. You went 9-7, gained a game on me. You're now 138-86. Doctor reigns as top Dino, top Domo, top everything this week. He takes a 3-game lead. He's at 148-76. 2 weeks to go, but we did discuss. And we decided that the pick'ems would last through the Super Bowl. We were going to stop them after Week 17, but we decided it would be best to extend the pick'ems all the way through.
And also, I don't know if we announced it on air, but you're probably thinking, okay, whoever wins Top Dino, what do they get? Well,
they get top Dino, right?
Oh,
No. We actually made a friendly little wager, and the winner, obviously it's looking like the Doctor right now, but that could change real easily. The winner receives a jersey of his choosing that will be purchased by the two losers. So we'll let you know. Obviously, you'll find out who that is.
Yeah, they'll be wearing it after Super Bowl, that's for sure.
So moving on, we'll get to the pick'ems this week. All the games are on Saturday this week, except we do have one Thursday game, one Sunday game, and one Monday game. Yeah. So we'll start that off Thursday night football, and since you are the top everything, you will get to begin this week. The Houston Mexicans go on the road to now what seems like a little tougher game than what do you think? And they take on the Indianapolis My Little Ponies.
I do think this is going to be a little bit tougher game than people are thinking.
Yeah.
Postmaster's been on about this one. I'm still going to have to take the Texans.
Yeah, I think I'm taking Texans as well. Hopefully, TJH doesn't have another bad game like he did this past week, but I'm pretty sure the Texans will be able to handle the Colts.
I think the Texans will handle the Colts as well. As much as I'd love to see the Colts go 2 in a row.
Maybe they can have a 3-game winning streak. They played Jacksonville last game of the year. So
the Miami Dolphin Tails go on the road to Gillette Stadium to take on the New England Unpatriotics.
Oh, boy.
Miami's been a hit-or-miss team this year, pretty much. They've had some awesome wins. We've all picked them at one point or another, I think. I don't think they win this one.
I like how you use that. I like how you use the hit and miss because Miami's going to get hit and they're going to miss New England's receivers. New England wins this one.
Yeah, I agree. New England wins. Tampa Bay, watch your
Buccaneers
Buccaneers go on the road to take on the Carolina Cam Newtons.
I think Carolina's got a very good chance at winning this game.
I don't know what is wrong with Tampa Bay. I do not. Raheem Morris is very deep in trouble at the end of this year. I take Carolina.
I take Carolina as well. And this will probably be the wallop of the week
Wallop.
because Pittsburgh's mad. They're coming off a short week, and they get the lowly Lambs as the St. Louis Lambs go into Heinz Field to take on the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I think without Ben Roethlisberger, because if you watched Monday Night Football, it is very, very unlikely that Roethlisberger plays Saturday after he took more hits than a professional hitman. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I think even without Big Ben, the Steelers have more than enough personnel to take the Rams out.
Pittsburgh, they don't need Big Ben. They might as well just get Terry Bradshaw, okay? St. Louis is... I think looking at it, the whole spectrum of football this year, even though the Colts have one win, I still say the Rams are the worst team in football. So I take Pittsburgh.
I take Pittsburgh as well. So the Minnesota Pirates go on the road to the nation's capital to take on the Washington Gingers.
I don't think I've said this all year, but Christian Ponder is not... I've said this. He's not a bad quarterback. But Adrian Peterson's still not expected to play on Saturday. If he plays at game time, we have to make our picks now, but if he plays, Minnesota wins this game. But as of right now, I have to go with the information I have, and I haven't said this all year, but I think the Redskins are
Who did Minnesota play this past Sunday?
This past Sunday?
the Saints.
Oh yeah, the Saints.
Yeah, it was the
Saints, and the Saints.
Yes.
The Saints ramped the score on them. If you didn't watch it,
Yeah.
Drew Brees had 5 touchdowns, almost 450 passing yards. Washington's a kind of a hot team right now. I mean, they don't have a chance of making the playoffs, but I think Washington wins this one as well.
I think Washington wins as well.
Another wallop.
Another one, yeah. We say that.
It's the season.
Cautiously.
It's the season for beatings.
Cleveland Brownies go on the road to take on the Baltimore Ratbirds.
After this weekend, the heat for the race in the AFC North is still going to stay tied because Baltimore's winning this one too.
Again, Cleveland's another one of those teams that's just very bad. I take Baltimore.
I take Baltimore as well.
This could be an interesting game.
The Arizona Fighting Fitzgeralds travel to Cincinnati to take on the Cincinnati
Bungles.
I think this is going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to come down to who wants it more. The Cincinnati Bengals are still in for a wild card.
They're right there next to the Jets.
Yeah, they're right there next to the Jets. I think they feel that they have a better chance, not to hate on the Jets, than the Jets do. I think Cincinnati wins this game.
I like Cincinnati as well. I think Cincinnati, they're fighting for the playoff lives at this point. They got to be mad last week, even though they beat the Lambs. It wasn't convincing. It was a close game pretty much the whole time. I take the Bengals, but it's going to be tough because the Cardinals are playing well too.
Arizona is still in a playoff spot as well. They could potentially come back and get the
Well,
wild
they
card.
need a lot of help.
They need a lot of help.
help.
But they're playing very well.
Who would have thought John Skelton would be the answer?
Right, absolutely. So I think the Bungles are on a downward spiral. I mean, they barely beat the Lambs at the Lambs. And that's not saying much.
It might have been because the Lambs were wearing their classic jerseys. That
It could have
it.
been. So with that being said, I'm going upset in my mind, and I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals.
I think they were trying to impersonate the greatest show on turf.
It could be. The Denver T-Bows go on the road to take on the Buffalo Bisons.
The Bills started off this season so well.
They were 4-0.
4-0.
And now they're 4-9, aren't they?
Yeah. I just don't see how Buffalo wins this
they're
game.
actually they're 4-10. Because lost to the Miami last weekend.
Yeah. I gotta say the Broncos win this match.
Tebow bounces back. Hopefully. Hopefully Tebow bounces back. But I think Tebow's going to bounce back. I mean, the Patriots are obviously the toughest team they've played all year. I think the defense bounces back, and I think the Broncos win this one.
I'm going to say the Broncos win. I'm going with Tebow and the Broncos.
Another tough game. Whew.
The Oakland Raiders, who are still by the skin of their teeth hanging on for a playoff spot, go on the road to take on what would have been, you would have thought, of easy game, but not so fast, my friend.
Nope.
The Kansas City Chumps.
What happened to the High Chiefs? Can't call them
Still
chumps.
the Chumps.
No, they beat the Packers.
I don't care. They're still the Chumps.
I think what we're going to see here is probably an Oakland team realizing it's put up or shut up time.
Absolutely.
And I think that the High Chiefs are they're going to put up a good game. I don't think it's going to be enough. This is going to be a close game, but I see Oakland taking this one home.
Again, the Packers lost to the Chiefs. That's no mystery. We said that already. Where'd they play? In Kansas City. They're playing Kansas City again. I think Kansas City pulls the upset.
I'm picking Kansas City as well, and I don't think it's going to be an upset if Kansas City wins. Reason being is they're playing at home. I'm almost willing to bet Kansas City could very well be a field goal favorite. I'm not for sure on that. But I think the guys want Romeo Crennel as their coach, and they're going to play for him to be their coach, and I'm picking the Chiefs.
This is a make
The
or break.
the winner is in the playoffs, the loser is done. Simple as that.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's basically a home game for both of them.
Well, one's got to go maybe like 15 feet to the other side.
Yeah. The New York football gargantuans, for what it's worth, are on the road.
They're struggling.
Not.
They go on the road to about the other side of the field.
Take on the New York crop dusters.
Like you guys said, I mean, the fact that they're even labeling a home team in this game is just a joke. But I'm going to have to go
Somebody's got to wear the road jersey this
Somebody's
week.
got to wear the road jerseys. I'm going to have to take the Giants in this one.
The Jets got walloped this past week against the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles are playing pretty well.
The Giants got walloped by the Redskins.
But like I said, the Giants 3 interceptions. So the Jets, I think the Jets are a little bit more hungry than the Giants, so I picked the Jets.
The Giants looked absolutely abysmal. Now, here again, the Jets looks absolutely abysmal. It's basically a home game for both teams. It's a matter of who wants it more. The Giants could lose this game and still win the NFC East
If Dallas loses.
because they play at the end of because they play at the end of the last game.
Well, I'll explain to you later.
All right. So with that being said, I'm gonna pick the Jets. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who got walloped by the Falcons last week,
They face the most embarrassing team in football right now.
they go on the road to a team that lost to the worst team in the NFL, the Tennessee Two Steps.
2 steps backwards.
They did take 2 steps backwards. That's for
Maybe
sure.
maybe 50 steps.
Yeah,
Does
exactly.
anyone know what the status of Chris Johnson is? Is he going to be playing?
I have no idea, but I got a feeling they're going to be mad. They're basically out of the playoffs now with that loss.
Yeah. I do think I have to take Tennessee on this game just because I don't see them losing at home after 2 losses on the road.
I know this rivalry pretty well. I used to live in Jacksonville, and this is a tough game for Tennessee. This is actually a tough game to pick because, how good is Tennessee? They lost to the Colts for crying out loud. Why not? I'm going to call the upset. Pick Jacksonville.
I'm going with Tennessee. They're not losing 2 bad games in a row. The San Diego Sparklers
You're sparkling a bit brighter right now.
go on the road to take on the Detroit Cowardly Lions.
Neither team is out of the playoff picture by a long shot.
No,
here.
Well, the Lions are very much
San
in the
Diego
wild
is
card.
kind of out of it.
San Diego, it all depends on what the Broncos do. I think, like you said, I think the Broncos will win this week. When you look at things in the long run, I just think that Detroit has a lot more younger talent on their team than the Chargers do. Phillip Rivers is too hit or miss, especially on the road. I have to go with excuse me. I have to go with Detroit here.
As much as it pains me because I need Atlanta to lose and Detroit to lose for Seattle to have statistically a chance. Detroit's playing at home. Again, they're playing for their lives. But you know what? The doctor said they're playing well in December, and I agree with him. I'm picking the Chargers.
All right. I'm going with him. I think the Chargers are going to win. Simple as that. So The Philadelphia Fails
Oh, wait a minute now. They're playing a lot better.
go on the road
The Jones Dome.
to the Jones Dome. They're always there. Do they ever go on the road?
Yeah,
Apparently
last
not.
week they did.
To take on the Dallas Cowgirls.
I just don't see a repeat performance happening. The Eagles still do have a chance to win the division, but obviously they have to win out,
And Dallas has to lose.
and Dallas has to lose to the to the Giants.
That's lose out to Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think that Dallas is going to win this game.
Dallas needs to step up. They're playing in the Jones Dome at home. And you know what? They're going to be more hyped up because I believe the Giants game is before their game. So they're going to know the outcome before that point. So if the Giants do lose, they're going to say, okay, we have to win this game, and we win our division. So I take Dallas.
I think Dallas as well. So now, the NFC West game of the week, for what it's worth. The San Francisco 49ers go on the road to Westfield.
No, it's not Quest anymore.
No,
Century.
Century Link
Century.
Field,
Century.
whatever.
Yeah.
To take on the Seattle Seafails.
Let's get in here.
Just to get this out of the way, if San Francisco does win the Super Bowl this year, are you guys still going to call them San Francisco?
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably.
We won't say it. We won't say it as emphatically.
We won't say this emphatically. We'll just say San Francisco. Okay?
Let's look at it like this. The 49ers want that home field advantage because it is going to be
You
their
told me earlier
advantage.
off the air, yeah.
I told you off the air. San Francisco, they need this game. They need this game. They clinched the division, but they do hold the tiebreaker over New Orleans. So basically, if New Orleans loses to the Falcons, which they might, basically all San Francisco has to do is win and then rest their guys week 17.
Yeah.
I got to go with San Francisco.
You know.
San Francisco is 11-3, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Just checking.
So, looking back on this season for Seattle, they were 2-6. 2-6. Now they're 7-7. They won 5 of the last 6 games. And both these guys said yesterday, when I told them about that, because they've really played nobody. They played the Ravens, who they don't play well. They won the Giants. But then I brought up a good point, and he agreed with me. It still takes a heck of a lot of talent to win football games in this league because they're all professionals, and all these teams have been good at one point. The Giants won Super Bowls, and so on and so forth. Seattle's going to be playing at home. They need this game to stay alive. No matter what it's worth, I am very proud of my team from going 2-6 to possibly 9-7, 8-8, or 7-9. At least they're going to match their season last year. I am very proud of them for accomplishing that. And obviously, as he said, they're going to have a tough time with Marshawn Lynch because he's running the ball very well. 10 straight games with a touchdown. Also, the first 1,000-yard rusher since 2005, Sean Alexander. So, Seattle's going to be hyped up for this game. They're playing at home, 12th man. I like Seattle.
To me, who does Seattle have next week? Do you know?
Cardinals.
This is Seattle's Super Bowl. San Francisco is the top of the league. They're the top of the heap as far as the NFC West goes. Seattle would like nothing more than to put another L in the San Francisco's column. They're at home. It's Christmas Eve. Marshawn Lynch is going to say, you know what? Your 49ers, take your not allowing a rush touchdown all season and stick it because he's going to score a rushing touchdown. I think it's going to happen, and I think Seattle pulls the upset. I like Seattle to beat San Francisco.
Again, they're not a 2-6 team anymore. They're not. They're a completely different team.
I totally thought they would beat the Steelers. That's why I picked it. But I totally think that this week, coming off a game like last night.
Again, Seattle played Chicago this past Sunday. Even though Chicago doesn't have an offense, they still have their defense, and Seattle shredded it for 38 points.
38 points. So the Christmas night game of the week.
Season's beatings in
Green Bay, definitely. The Caleb Haney led Chicago. God, they're failing. The Chicago fails.
The Chicago.
They fail.
Baby Cubs.
The fails. Yeah, they are the Cubs. The Chicago Cubs.
Oh, I don't think a lot of people are going to like that.
Go on the road.
To a very angry
and upset. I guess they're no longer the Ethnics because they're no longer undefeated, so we'll just say the Green Bay Cheeseheads.
The Green Bay Cheeseheads.
The Green Bay Cheesers. I'm going to have to go with Green Bay. I don't think they lose 2 in a row.
Again, a very disturbing image. What happened in the game against Seattle? Johnny Knox got folded up like an accordion. He's done for the season and is His career is in jeopardy, but I think
they said he's good.
well, I think he'll be okay. But how mad do you think Green Bay is going to be? I mean, again, congratulations to Aaron Rodgers for throwing 40 touchdowns, first time in Green Bay history, which is surprising because they had Brett Favre for so long. But Packers win this game. Chicago's
Packers in a wallop.
Now Monday Night Football.
Season finale of Monday.
Hopefully there won't be another power outage this week.
This is going to be an interesting game because. Are you done?
I was doing Monday Night Football. It's the last one. It should be, Anyway.
This is going to be an interesting game because New Orleans, and they are in the tight race for that number 2 seed, and it all goes back to San Francisco, and it all goes back to what you said earlier. The Saints are going to know the result of this San Francisco game. Either way, they're still going to play their hearts out because they still have to win this, even if San Francisco loses.
And I think Breeze wants to break that record.
I think Breeze wants, and there's no doubt.
I'm just saying.
He's only 300 yards away.
Well, I mean, again, the defense of Atlanta could shut him down. They might rest him last week of the season. It's possible.
And that is true. In the event that New Orleans does lose this game, I think they do fold their cards, and I think Week 17 they rest Breeze. They rest everybody pretty much. However, either way, I think they give it one last shot regardless if San Francisco wins because, like you said, San Francisco does hold the tiebreaker over New Orleans. I think New Orleans knows that, and I think New Orleans is coming out. They're playing at home, and I'm going to
exactly what I was going to say. I mean, either you can go if it was in Atlanta, I would probably take the Falcons. But the Saints are one of the best home teams in football this year. I take the Saints.
The Falcons are playing really good here lately.
And yet we still call them the Falcons.
I know. They've been playing really good. They've stepped their game up, per se. They've improved. They've looked more like the Falcons that they should have been all season. But with that being said, I don't think they have enough to go into the Saints, the Superdome there, and getting a victory. I pick the Saints.
All right. Interesting week.
So definitely an interesting week in the NFL, whether it be Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after Christmas, or this Thursday. Should be some good games to watch. A lot of exciting action. One other note before we move on to wrestling that we forgot to mention earlier in the beginning of the show, that NBA gets its start this week. Christmas Day. The Mavericks play the Heat. The Bulls play the Lakers, and I think there's one other.
There's a couple other games
out
there. But
I
mean, I'll just say real quick. I mean, a lot of big trades happening. Chris Paul to the Clippers, and they have like Chauncey Billups now, and Blake Griffin. They actually played the Lakers the other night in preseason, and they won.
And they play again tonight, actually, which is kind of weird. They play 2 nights in a row.
So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens with that. So moving on to wrestling, our weekly OVW wrestling interview. So with that, we'll kick it off here, and let's take a look.
We actually have senior official referee Chris Truckee with us. Chris, thanks, really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. So what we do with everybody, usually with superstars, we have them when they got to OVW. So I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yeah, sure, man. I moved to Louisville, Kentucky from Richmond, Virginia 3 years ago, and man, it has been the best 3 years of my life. I actually, where I'm from in Virginia is the same town that Dave and Earl Hebner, legendary referees, grew up in, and I guess they were more or less my inspiration to wear the stripes and get involved in wrestling.
So being people throwing stuff here.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about, but anyway.
As a referee, they don't always agree with the calls I make. I call it like I see it, and sometimes they throw stuff.
Speaking of that, being in the ring, you're obviously very, in the ring with a lot of guys that are powerful and big. Have you ever gotten in a situation where you get hurt in the ring or get into an altercation or something like that? Stuff in the ring, it gets really physical.
Yeah, man. To be honest, I get tossed around at least a few times every month. There'll be matches where I get banged up against the corner or against the rope, and somebody accidentally ducks, and I'll get knocked out, and I understand it's all just part of the thing. I recover. A few weeks later, I don't complain, and I come back and do my job.
Well, let's thank everybody. As I always say, go to ovwrestling.com to check out the latest episodes if you don't live in the Louisville area. And a big announcement tonight. How pumped are you about the big announcement? I'm not going to spoil anything, but how pumped are you about the possible big news that Trailer Park Trash has for us tonight?
You know, I heard rumors about what it could be. I'm not exactly sure, but just like everyone else, I'm going to find out at the same time. I'm very excited. And actually, just as excited or even more so, the steel cage match on January 7th. Mike Hayes, Muhammad Ali Fayez. That's one that I'm personally looking forward to. I believe that I'll be in the steel cage. It's a big, big structure. It's ominous. It's dark. It's scary. Somebody's probably going to get hurt, and I hope it's not me this time.
And the final question I have is, you have been watching the past couple weeks. Seems like you got something going on with Lady JoJo back there. I mean, what's going on with that?
I don't know what's going on, but I try to look after everybody in the locker room, and if I see someone upset, I'll go and check on them. And she was upset a couple weeks back, and I don't know. I think we could be really, really great friends.
All right, I want to thank OVW each and every week. It's great to interview these guys. Our 7th straight week. I can't believe it's been 7 weeks we've been interviewing these guys.
I know, it's crazy. It's awesome.
And actually, you have a microphone this week, so we're getting more professional. So before I cover OVW this week, take a look if you can see. Here, I'll let the camera focus it there. That's the edition of Leo. It's the last issue, not the current issue, but the previous week's issue here in Louisville. It's a magazine here in Louisville. It's actually a cover of it is OVW on there, Rudy Switchblade, Adam Revolver, Paradise, and then the guy in the mask I do not know. But there's a nice article about OVW. A lot of good and interesting articles about Nick Dinsmore, why he's not in WWE anymore. It's a great read. If you live in the Louisville area, I would definitely suggest picking it up. So
absolutely. So moving on to that, we'll recap OVW.
So the first time the doctor accompanies me to OVW. And if you go to OVW, there's a Papa John's car. There's Papa John's seats. You consider like these nice lazy boy seats. He asks me. He asks me. He asks me. He asks me, what's the deal with those seats? I tell him. I said, you put your thing in a raffle, and if you win,
really,
you put you put money. You give money to this guy that's giving out tickets. They give you a raffle ticket. They give you a raffle ticket, and you sit in the seats and get pizza and soda. He's like, what's so bad about that? I said, well, here's the thing. You're not guaranteed to sit with the person you brought with you at the event. So make a long story shorter, he goes for it. He buys 3 tickets, and still I don't know what he said to Terry. But again, make a long story short, he wins the seat. But someone else does too, so I'm sitting there by myself during the show. So
it's hood calls.
The pizza was delicious.
Yeah, I thank you.
I was on TV.
Yeah, he was on TV if you did watch it on channel WKYI. He was there cheering, and the guy next to him was, not having fun, I don't think. But again, Saturdays, 1 o'clock, WKYI. This week was interesting. Gary, the doctor, got his first experience to Tony Gunn, the man with the bear. He thought, hey, when we interview people on this show at OVW, they win. Ted McNair was our interview last week, and he beats Tony Gunn for the TV title. There's a match between Paradise and, I can't remember his name, I apologize, Con Morris, Leonard, something like that. A guy who likes to do the fist bumps, whatever. But Paradise...
Norris.
Yeah,
Norris. I can't remember his first name, his last name is Norris. Lennox Norris.
Lennox Norris, thank you, good job. Lennox Norris, he won the match, but Paradise and Brandon Espinosa, they're getting to it. That's a pretty good feud, I think. It's they're going back and forth.
Speaking of Paradise...
Oh, well, I'll get to that. That's after.
It's happening!
And the big thing that I want to talk about with this main event. Well, I'll go to the main event, and then I'll talk about something else. The main event was Switchblade and Marcus Anthony, who was a beast. If you've ever seen this guy, he's huge.
He's huge.
He was ridiculous. Taking on Jason Wayne and Mike Mondo, who aren't, I don't think Jason Wayne and Mike Mondo are going to be exchanging Christmas cards. So, but Jason Wayne and Mike Mondo did win. And then Switchblade and Marcus Anthony get the upper hand, and then Switchblade and Marcus Anthony are getting beat down by Mondo and Wayne, and then Jesse Neal comes out. That was in TNA. He comes out and starts attacking them. So I guess Jesse Neal is with Miscagni Services, so to speak. So, but the big thing I want to talk about that came out of this show this past week was Muhammad Ali Fayez answered the challenge of Michael Hayes saying they're going to fight in a steel cage on Saturday, January 7th at the Saturday Night Special right here in the Davis Arena. And Fayez said, no, I have no reason to challenge you. And then Michael Hayes made it a little bit interesting. He said if he loses this match, he will quit wrestling forever. So that'll be something to look forward to at the Saturday Night Special, January 7th at the Davis Arena. If you live here in local Louisville, I would definitely check that out because that's going to be a hell of a match. You don't see cage matches too often in OVW, so this one's going to be very special. And we went to OVW last night. The show's obviously airing on Thursdays. We went to OVW, and there's a big announcement coming, so definitely tune in this Saturday on OVWrestling.com. And also, if you live in the Louisville area, Channel 138 WKYI, a big announcement coming from OVW. So
Absolutely. So
I texted him when Tony Gunn came out. I was like, because I had my phone out, and I texted him. I was like, is that a bear?
It was a bear. It
that
was
was
a bear.
So moving on from that to tables.
Ladders.
And chairs.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Oh my. So
Anyway.
we had a lot of interesting things come out of it. We were 5-1 as a team. Congrats, guys. We all did very well. 2 matches we didn't pick because they weren't announced before the card. The Divas match.
Yeah, Divas match.
The Divas match, which Beth Phoenix was victorious.
Go ahead, let him gloat.
Who? What? Why are we letting him gloat?
I said, okay.
We're not letting them gloat because I proved them wrong.
Right,
but they would not win.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine they didn't win. But I said way back before, you can check the Facebook post, it's way before this match was even announced. I showed you the groundwork.
Yeah.
Beat them on Superstars, beat them in tag matches, and they got their shot. That's
And
all.
what I tell you what happened.
They
I
lost.
said whenever they win all those matches
You're
and
right.
win non-title
You're
matches,
right.
they never win the first time they go for the titles.
You're right,
And
absolutely.
they did not win. Primo and Epico fought Evan Bourne and Kofi Kingston
Air Blue.
in a tag team titles match, and definitely the victory.
Good match, actually.
It was a very good match.
I'm glad to see they're showing. It's a shame the Divas division isn't getting any, things going on, but the tag division's getting some rejuvenation. So
Thank you. All right, so to cover TLC real quick, the Intercontinental title was on the line. It took 3 starts to try to get this one going, but in the end, Cody Rhodes defeated Booker T.
like I said, Booker T was only there to make Cody look good, and that's exactly what happened.
No surprise there. Randy Orton and Wade Barrett in a tables match. Wade Barrett kind of botched a little in this one. Went a little too far on the RKO,
But in the end,
Randy Orton wins. That was our one loss.
and
for
when we
the-
get to
for the
Raw,
night.
the tables turned, so to speak, last night. So
That was our only loss for the night. In a sledgehammer ladder match, which actually turned out to be a decent match, Triple H was victorious.
Triple H put him out of his misery.
Like we all figured. We have a new United States champion. Woo! 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 You know it. Zack Ryder defeats Dolph Ziggler to become the new United States champion. Thank you, WWE. It's been a long time coming for that.
Hopefully that petition paid off.
In a chairs match for the world title, Big Show versus Mark Henry. We have a new champion, the Big Show, so why are you still here?
For a mere Big Show was champion for a mere 45 seconds. I went outside, was ready to off myself, but what happened?
Well, apparently Mark Henry attacked Big Show after the match, beat him to a pulp, and you heard the music of Daniel Bryan comes down, cashes in. He doesn't wait till WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan is your new World Heavyweight Champion.
Thank God for that.
So, and in the main event of the evening,
Very good match.
for the first time ever, mind you.
Hopefully not the last.
The tables, ladders, and chairs. The WWE title was defended in a TLC match. The Miz versus Alberto Del Rio versus your champion, the best in the world.
Clobbering time.
Clobbering time. CM Punk.
It's an excellent match.
It was a very good
It was a
match.
great match.
CM Punk did retain.
I think Rodriguez took a little spill there.
He did take a little spill. He also had a little mustard on his jacket. I don't know what was going on with that. So it was a very good pay-per-view. One thing that kind of stood out to me is no John Cena.
Did you make a Christmas wish before that
I
pay-per-view?
did. Apparently I got my Christmas wish.
Apparently so. So no John Cena.
It was a good pay-per-view, too.
Yeah.
It was a
Very
good
surprised.
pay-per-view. I mean, all kidding aside, John Cena not being there, it still was a good pay-per-view.
Very odd, though.
It was very odd and very different not to see him there. So moving on from that, Monday Night Raw last night.
No, we found out what happened with John Cena. He was obviously last week on Raw. He was attacked by Kane, and Kane came out this week. And we don't know what the extent of what's going on here with Kane and John Cena, but Kane attacked John Cena again. So this is obviously going to be an ongoing feud, probably just till Royal Rumble because they have to focus on The Rock. Maybe The Rock get involved with that. But, Kane's obviously back with a vengeance against John Cena for some odd reason.
Right, absolutely. So, with that being said, we also had CM Punk come out, did a little skit with saying, "So, who won the TLC match? Oh, wait, I did!
Who won the U.S. title?
Who won the U.S. title? Zack Ryder did!" So that ensued John Laurinaitis to come out and say, "We have a 6-man tag made for tonight. It will be the new U.S. champion, Zack Ryder, the new WWE World Champion, Daniel Bryan, and the reigning WWE Champion, CM Punk, taking on
The Miz
Alberto Del Rio
and Dolph Ziggler."
And we all know who won.
Yep, the champs.
The faces.
The champs.
I mean,
And
it's awesome to see them all be champ at the same time.
probably the shortest, worst Divas match in history. Alicia Fox versus Beth Phoenix.
It ended on a botch, to be honest with you. It did. Beth Phoenix went for a move, and it was countered by Alicia. She went for a reverse DDT, and then she did a flipping leg drop, and that was it. The Divas division, I don't know what it needs. I don't. But it's god-awful.
It needs...
It needs some good karma.
But, I mean, all kidding aside, it's like we love WWE. We've been with them all this time, but their Divas division is just so bad. It is.
So, next up is Royal Rumble, which we all know leads into the most epic pay-per-view of the year, WrestleMania. It's getting close to the road to WrestleMania. Obviously, it starts with Royal Rumble, the winner of Royal Rumble, and it gears all the way up to April.
Another thing I want to mention about Raw is Primo and Epico had another tag team match against the Usos, who, eventually I thought the Usos were going to be tag champions, but they're not. Actually, Primo and Epico won. So, again, I'll say it again, I think Primo and Epico are going to get another shot, and I think this time they're going to come out victorious this time.
Now, what happened between Wade Barrett and Randy Orton?
Well, there was actually a match, and the smartest thing they could have done, don't have one person win or up the other person. They didn't do that. Ended in a disqualification. But Wade Barrett got the upper hand at the end of the match, after the match was already over. Got a table, gave the wasteland through the table, and Randy Orton looked like he was in a car accident. So Wade Barrett got the upper hand in that one. So
this feud is not over, and I look forward to how it definitely goes from here.
It could possibly, since they don't have anything really going on right now, unless Wade. Here's what I'll say right now: if Wade Barrett does not win the Royal Rumble, he will face Randy Orton at WrestleMania.
I think so, and also something that maybe it comes down to the final four between them in the Royal Rumble, Wade Barrett and Randy Orton. Maybe Wade Barrett throws that Randy Orton in the mix,
something like that. But WrestleMania is the best pay-per-view. It's slated to be just because of what's going on and all the spectrum. But my favorite pay-per-view to look forward to is the Royal Rumble, because I just love the Rumble and the atmosphere and the unpredictability of who's going to come out and what's going to happen. So.
Right. So with that, I think that wraps up wrestling. I think it wraps up the show this week.
Absolutely.
Before we go, it is Christmas week. So, if you guys would like to address your season's greetings and holiday wishes to everyone out there, kind of say a little something for the holiday time, well, I guess we'll let the doctor start here.
I just want to say season's greetings. My future in-laws will be in town to celebrate the holidays with us and Erica.
Are you going to get an ugly Christmas sweater?
No. She's wanting to have an ugly Christmas party. But I do want to say season's greetings to you guys. Season's greetings to them. Season's greetings to you, sweetie. I love you. Season's greetings to the best fans helping us out for one of the most underrated sports talk shows as voted by our viewers. I want to wish you guys season's greetings as well.
Season's greetings definitely to these guys. I mean, like I said before, I enjoy doing this every week. Season's greetings to all the great people at OVW, especially the package, Chris Sharp, because I know he's a big fan of the show, and also referee Josh. He loves the show. I talked to him last week and this past Sunday when we saw the pay-per-view. He's a big fan of it. So, obviously, season's greetings to all the great fans out there stuck by us through thick and thin, stuck with me since the DWA and Triple Threat Talk, and just stuck by this, this channel, my Big BNJ88 channel, just stuck by it through these past, it's been like five years since I opened this channel. So it's been a very interesting year personally for me, but hopefully 2012, I think 2012 is going to be a great year, especially with these guys on the show and progressing forward. So.
Absolutely. So I want to wish Merry Christmas to everybody out there, all of our fans, our viewers, for all the comments you all leave weekly, to the vote of confidence that you all give us. Merry Christmas to you, Doctor. Merry Christmas to you, Big B. To my family, my mom, my dad, my in-laws, Stephanie, my beautiful wife. It's been an awesome year. We got one more show. I guess we'll end the year in a bang.
Yeah, next week you don't want to miss next week. We're gonna recap the year in sports. It's gonna be a great show, recapping everything in sports what happened this year. It's not gonna be a 5-hour show, so don't worry about that.
Absolutely. So with that, I think that wraps it up. It's been a fun time. It's been a fun year. Just like to say Merry Christmas to you guys and
Merry Christmas to you guys. And if you want to like us on Facebook, you can at facebook.com/TripleThreatTalk. You can follow us on Twitter at TripThreatTalk, and you can send any comment or question you have at TripleThreatTalk@yahoo.com. So for Triple Threat Talk, this is Big B.
This is Postmaster Jones.
And this is the Doctor.
So everybody have a happy and safe holiday.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.